This is your friendly neighborhood atheist. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Ask an Atheist. I'm your host, Ethan, and alongside me today, secular Rarity. What's going on, dude?
Hey, how's it going, brother?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I can't complain too much, man. I'm fully vaccinated now.
Nice.
Even living here in Tennessee, which has done just a terrible job this whole time. Thank you, Governor. But other than that, I'm doing great, man. So I'm back to it, man. Running around and starting to lick people randomly. So,
where did you get the name?
ooh, yeah, that's a really cool question. I'm gonna pretend like I had some epiphany one night doing something really, really cool, and came up with it or saw it in the stars. But are you a Monty Python fan? Do you watch The Flying Circus?
I am not, and I
That's
know
okay.
everyone harps on me for not being into it.
Somebody out there will get this, but the words just had a real good woody sound to it, not like those tinny sounds that other people have, with their names. So
A woody sound?
you got to see the sketch. You just got to see the sketch. Man. It has a real woody sound, and somebody out there is having a good time with that right
now. Yeah, probably. I mean, it is a cool name.
Thank you, so, man.
What does secular mean?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I maybe should have gotten a.
How many licks does it take to get to Ethan's heart? I don't know. That's a good question.
Mr. Owl always told me it was 3. So I don't know if, again, somebody out there's having a good time with that. But, secular really is just this idea of doing things without really looking at it from a religious lens. And that means either in a positive religious lens or even a negative religious lens. It's really just supposed to be, hey, religion doesn't matter for this. And that's actually the way, pretty much everything should be. I mean, when we start up our cars in the morning, we don't pray real quick. At least I don't know too many people that do. When we're going to make laws about how we should treat each other in society, it shouldn't have anything to do with religion. It shouldn't have anything to do, promoting a religion of any kind or denigrating a religion of any kind. We shouldn't pass a law that says Catholics can't do because they're Catholic. It doesn't make any sense. And at the same time, the opposite is really even worse a lot of the times, where we're basically just giving these freedoms and rights to all these religious groups that nobody else gets. So as much of our lives as we can make secular, I'm a big fan of that. So
same, dude. So how long have you been an atheist, and why are you one?
So I was raised Methodist. And everybody has a bit of a different experience for sure, but in my church that I was raised in, all of the people were baptized at a very, very young age. And I'm talking like 2 months, 3 months, tiny little baby, hold them up there at the pulpit, sprinkle a little water on their face. Jesus. I unfortunately, as a newborn, came down with some very strange illness that kept me in the ICU for a good while there at the beginning. So I wasn't able to do that when I was young. And I was raised in the church, and I think it was around the age of 13 that I actually, and I'm sure I still have my little baptismal candle and my little card and everything somewhere. I just have to find it. But I chose to get baptized, which was definitely something that was different for a lot of the people in that church. Most of them didn't know I wasn't baptized, and they would just talk to me like, "Well, you've been saved, you've been baptized, you've gotten the water sprinkle," and I'd just go, "Yeah, cool, sure." And finally, I decided, this is something that I really want to do, and I was very involved in my church. With music. So I play drums, as well as I was a part of the handbell and chimes choir. So if you've ever seen just a table of handbells going at it, man, it is beautiful. It is fun. It can be very difficult, but it is just absolutely incredibly interesting to play. And unfortunately, they're very expensive. Brass is not cheap, so it's hard to get your hands on them if you're not a part of a church. But so a few years after that, I started having more questions, and questions that weren't really theological.
Right.
Questions that weren't, well, why does God this or that? Questions that were like, well, what is a really good reason for not punching somebody in the face? What is a good reason for trying to rehabilitate as opposed to, go ahead.
What is a good reason not to punch them?
Yeah, there's a heck of a lot, man. I think you can really easily go with some Kantian ethics here, or just some basic consequentialism, and you can get to a good enough answer that should stop you from doing that.
Ethics?
Kantian? Like
I've never
Kant?
heard it before.
Oh, Immanuel
the
Kant.
philosopher Kant?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. I never heard that term, Kantian.
Oh, yeah. So he does. I mean, the deontology stuff is where he really helps us out with a lot of that. And there's, as with everything philosophical, man, there's a lot to study and there's a lot to look at. And I'm no freaking philosopher. I'm no expert. I've got no degree. Yeah. I'm just some jackass that talks about stuff. But you can either go from this idea of there are these, more or less fundamental principles that we all have to follow and we all have to apply in our daily life, or you can go look at it from a perspective of, well, what's the outcome, of this action anyway,
I like perspectives.
you gotta, I feel like there's a show on some network, I don't know which one, but it's like Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Everybody should check it. Yeah, I'm great at shilling.
By the way, I forgot to issue my challenge to you at the beginning of the show. You have to make sure you're more entertaining than Tangel, because he's talking about sex toys and lots of BDSM, and it sent my brain everywhere. All right, so it doesn't have to go down sex, okay, but it's got to be entertaining.
So don't take my shirt off right now, is what you're saying.
Do it. It would be hard to top that.
Yeah, and seriously, not to talk about everybody, all the wonderful, incredible people that have already been on this particular series, dude. But as a fan of your channel, this is going to be a real low point for you, man. You really got to do a better job. Bring on some more interest.
Yourself. So for those who don't know, I was looking for call screeners, and Secular Rarity reached out, and then it turned out he didn't have Facebook, and I'm like, sorry, without Facebook, can't do it. Because for those who don't know, during these live shows, there is a lot of communication going on behind the scenes. It's probably why you'll hear me typing all the time, because the hosts and myself, we are in contact throughout the show in case we need to discuss anything, or like say there's a caller or an issue we need to avoid. Then we are also in a chat with the chat moderators and the call screeners like him. So that's our primary means of communicating, is Facebook Messenger. So then he was like, I'll create one right now. And I was like, all right, can we video chat? And I'd like to think I'm a good judge of character. And just within 5 minutes of meeting him, I'm like, yeah, he's cool. So invited him on, and then like he's been contributing, and thought, like to have his voice out there as well. He's a smart dude. And the purpose of Ask an Atheist is I'm not necessarily trying to just get other YouTubers. I want to get like everybody else, involved, and get as many voices front and center as possible, and provide, unique perspectives from each different person. So he seems like a good dude.
Well, I appreciate that, man. It definitely means a lot. Yeah. Also, just in case there's any one of the wonderful people that are always in this community, that want to reach out to me, there is a Facebook. There is also a Discord. I think BestName just mentioned that as well. That's me. It's just this name, Secular Rarity. My name's actually Elliot, but Secular Rarity is the one that's on everything. So I don't know how to do a lot of stuff on it. So don't get all upset or anything. But just come find me. Just come find me. Chat with me. I've done the same thing with those super cool people over there at the Atheist Roundtable. Pasta Mike, Oz, Nate. I mean, great guys, great people.
They are, and I'm like watching how they are really good at community building. They are surrounded by atheists and theists who all love engaging, in dialogue. Like I've watched their Facebook group in just the past week, like skyrocket in popularity. They are so good at building an audience and a community, and they are really good people behind the scenes as well. When I was having mic issues, before I even knew who Oz was, I get a message, hey, give me your address and I'll send you a mic. Like, and not some cheap mic either. Nice mic. It turns out I had the same mic. I just didn't have the settings correct. So him and Chris were able to help me get it working. But then he still had that mic, and he ended up sending it to Dave Warnock. They're always like, they're super chatting and financially contributing to other channels. Like they are just two really good people. And they also check on you like behind the scenes too, to like when I was having a bad mental health week and I made a post, Oz was right in my messenger, making sure I'm okay. Like they are really good dudes.
Yeah. And that's something that I can only speak for myself. I do not yet, grumpy old dude. I do not yet have any videos of me. You can find me at some other people's wonderful channels, just like this one. Ask and Wonder and Foresight Paradigm. If you look up either of those are some channels run by a buddy of mine. One is run by a Christian who hopefully soon will do a live talk at a church of a grilling atheists. So I'm excited. He's already said that he's going to invite me on, and I'm going to get to speak to some of them Christians down here in the South. So that'll be lots of fun, man. But yeah, I really value the fact that this community and the one over there at Tart Tang, there's a lot that's done to promote mental health and mental well-being and just being a real person, because that's something that is so damn difficult to just be a person, right? Like it is tough, man. There's all these weird things going on inside of you. There's all these like strange things that just happen outside of you and you don't know how to feel about them. Like so many times something happens to me and people will be like, oh man, how does that make you feel? And it's like, well, partly confused. Like I just don't understand everything. But then I'm like sad about it, and now I'm confused about my sadness, and then I've been that way for a day, so now I'm just pissed about it, so
why are you sad?
Oh no, I was giving as an example, man. No, okay. I'm good. No, I'm not sad right now.
Oh, okay.
But it's hard. It's hard to deal with a lot of the things that go on in life. And we as a collective, as the human society that we are, we have apparently decided to continue to make weird choices that make it more difficult for people. And we do this seemingly all the freaking time. And when we finally have an avenue where we can just sit down and just for a little bit, just let off a little steam, there's a few times for sure out there you'll see my name pop up in chat, and I'll be yelling about something, but more often than not, I just want to be able to connect with other people. I just want to be able to chat with other people and hear what they have to say. My understanding of God and Jesus's relationship with myself when I was Christian,
Mhm.
it is so vastly different from what many Christians accept now, and it's so interesting to me. I just like learning stuff, man. And if somebody can sit down with me for a little bit of time and just, you know, try to help me understand. I was listening to some people speak the other day, and a question came up, which is, what is the minimum criteria to go to heaven? If there's, you know, some boxes out there that have to be checked before you can get into heaven, what's the least amount of boxes, you know?
Right.
And the answer for all three of these people, who all three expressed earlier in the conversation that they had differing views of God, that they understood God's nature slightly differently from each other. You know, the main stuff is there. The omnis this and omnis that, you know, but they all said grace from God. That's the minimum criteria to get to heaven. And that doesn't make sense to me. I guess maybe I just don't understand the definition of grace.
Okay.
Maybe I just don't understand the definition of God. I like the label agnostic, or
What's agnostic?
so agnostic is kind of like non-cognitivist, which I know another big word, but hang on, I'll explain them both. There are nuances between them, but at the end of the day, they kind of come down to the conception that the things that we're trying to talk about when it comes to supernatural, spiritual, God, Holy Spirit, you know, all that stuff isn't well defined enough for us to actually make any progress on. We don't really have a good definition of these things. And like, if I said to you right now, if I was like, hey, Ethan, just in as much detail as you can, explain the internet, in as much detail as you can, explain love, in as much detail as you can, explain cars. If I said that to basically anybody out there, we would still be able to have, even as complete and total idiots, we would still have a better conception of those things than we do God, than we do the Holy Spirit. And if that's the case, if it takes you 20 minutes just to get to some fuzzy, not well-defined whatever, well, then how the heck do we know anything? How do we know anything about it? How can we accept that anybody is hearing from it or is able to interpret it? When your answer comes back to, well, you know, God is mysterious, or we couldn't understand the gravity of God's greatness, well, then why the heck are you trying to? You know, that was something big for me, that I couldn't continue in a belief system, because as I started finding other answers, as I started finding, you know, hey, there's this guy, and, you know, he wrote down a bunch of stuff a long time ago, and, you know, it doesn't talk about God, it doesn't talk about ghosts or anything. It just says, look, if I punch somebody in the face, he might punch me back, and that's bad. When I started going down that route for trying to understand how we should treat each other, and then I started going down the route of, well, yeah, why does water freeze at this degree, or how the heck does my car work? You know, I just turn the key and it seems to make noises and move, but there's stuff that's going on, and we can understand that.
Right.
And when we're just so comfortable with accepting a not well-defined answer, you know, I think Aaron Ross says it, if you can't show it, you don't know it. And I like that, because it's simple and it's easy, you know. I can show you gravity all day, and whether or not my understanding is, you know, anything close to what the current physics is, you know, warping of space-time fabric, Higgs boson doing that, whether or not that's the case, still, even as a layman, my understanding is better than any other understanding I've ever heard when somebody wants to tell me about how they've experienced a ghost. And some people don't. Some people don't. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just quick, in terms of, and I normally ask this, in terms of any supernatural beliefs or paranormal, where do you fall on those? Because I know at times, like I recently had a disagreement with a couple atheists in a Facebook group because they were like, one said no true atheist believes in the supernatural. That's stupid. And I'm like, that's not atheism. Atheism only refers to the lack of belief in a God. And there are plenty of atheists, I know some, that hold some supernatural and paranormal beliefs. Now, for me, I actually don't understand that, because to me, if you are going to believe in ghosts, I think it's in souls. I think at that point it's reasonable to believe in a God.
I could understand the argument, and I've heard it a couple of times. I mean, it's still, so just to answer, nope, just none of that, just none of the supernaturally stuff. It doesn't mean that there's like not a natural explanation for Bigfoot.
Right.
It's just that, like, you know, it definitely is not some super powerful creature that can somehow break the laws of physics, A. And then B, we just currently, it doesn't seem that there's anything out there that really should make us feel confident about saying, yes, I accept this. And I don't even like to use the word belief a lot of the times. I prefer to use accept, because I think in that sense, we kind of know we're always saying evidence is necessary, and it's got to be sufficient evidence. You know, I a lot of times people will say, well, I believe this, and you know, I have evidence for it, and it's like, well, is it good evidence? And you know, you don't even really need to make that distinction. It's just, if it actually is evidence, it is good evidence, because otherwise it's not evidence, because it doesn't indicate the thing that we're going for. But go ahead.
Do you think there is any evidence for God?
In that definition that I just took a couple of minutes to lay out? No, heck no.
Okay.
No. Because if there was, so many of the incredible people that I see talking about this stuff on a regular basis truly would believe. They would accept that evidence. I don't think that you have ever approached this in a manner, from everything I've seen from you, brother. If literally I could just go, hey, look, God, yeah, God. If I could do that with anything in this vein, I really do feel like you would say, okay, yes. The whole question of worship, the whole question of every other thing that comes after it is totally separate, does not matter for what atheism is. If you simply just go, I'm not there with you, man. I got off the train right when you said, I accept God's real. I believe in God, you know? Every other little thing is not applicable to that label. Now, we can define it even more if we want to. We can go agnostic atheist or agnostic atheist or hard atheist. We can do all of that stuff, man. But go ahead.
No, finish, please.
I was just going to say, at the end of the day, like, you know, what's the point of me throwing out a complicated term if I don't have a good enough understanding of the terminology to express it to you in a sentence or two? You know, if I say, oh, you know, this and this, and you go, what the heck is that? And I go, well, it just is, you know, just kind of the thing, you know, it's that thing. You're like, what? I still don't, you know, so why put ourselves in a place where we have to defend something that we don't have a good understanding on? And why not just say, I'm not positive. Like, I don't know.
Right. That's why I don't understand like hard atheism. And when I say hard atheism, I'm referring specifically to the people who say there is no God. Like, to me, I can't prove that. So I don't want to make that claim. And if you take that position, then I look at it as you're the same, you know, you have the same burden of proof as the theists do, claiming there is a God.
Yes.
And then one other thing, opinion on ghosts, by the way, and let me know your thoughts. If there are like multiple universes, imagine like when people see things or ghosts or something, all they're seeing is like these dimensional overlaps.
That's literally what I was going to say.
Oh, really?
I was
Dude.
gonna say, yeah. So there is a conception related to ghosts that could have some more grounding to it than the soul thing. And that could potentially be related to the concept of time not being a straight line, but time actually branching off into all these different trees. And maybe some type of, I don't know, veil between the realities that is soft or splits at a certain point that you can kind of see through. Like that understanding of ghosts may be the best I've ever heard, but I'm still at a place where it's like, okay, yeah, like I get it in the cool heady concept, man, but just can you show me the other timeline in any way, shape, or form? I'd like to see the other timelines. If I can't do that and nobody else can, and we try and we fail repeatedly, that seems to indicate it's probably not there. Again, I can't say 100%. I can't say 100% on anything, because that's not even how we operate.
So that's the other thing I'm thinking.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
imagine if, okay, so we don't know when people like say they just saw a loved one, in front of their eyes that passed on. I don't know whether they're actually seeing something or not, but hypothetically, let's say they are seeing something. What if they're seeing like their family member from another dimension? Like,
Sure.
to me, that's a way cooler and more
Absolutely.
fascinating concept.
Yeah.
But again, all speculation.
Yeah, and it is. I agree with you. I think once you step away from so many of the questions that you basically need to answer to hold a religious belief system, once you step away from those, you really do have just a heck of a lot more to think about and worry about. Honestly, I don't spend a terrible amount of time with all the tried and true rehashed apologetic arguments, because I feel like there's just so many more interesting things for us to do with our society, with our lives and our thoughts. And so I heard, gosh, I don't remember who it was, but it was somebody talking about a conception of basically why we dream. And this is very, very interesting for a lot of people that study the brain. And again, just don't know anything about it, just a total idiot. So, don't take my words for sure, but there was a discussion on whether or not dreams may be related to essentially the brain trying to make sure that those pathways are still connected. And so it seems to be the case that if we deprive somebody of a particular sense, that the other pathways related to the other senses that they still have get stronger. And there seems to be a weakening in those senses that they're deprived of. If we do this for long, long periods of time, like it's not like, but I mean, you can see a little bit of this. If you close one eye and you hold it there for a little bit and you walk into a bright room and then you close the other eye, you'll notice this difference of light that's coming in. Your pupils will have gotten really, really tiny, and it's too much light coming in, or vice versa, big, small, whatever the heck it is. But it may be that the brain has this ability to give us these dreams so that it doesn't lose the basic senses that it needs to function. And so this idea that they were kind of talking about was that's why we have these really vivid dreams, is because the brain is like, hey, wait a second, I need to make sure that I can see stuff right now. And so it puts these fantastic, interesting pictures in front of us so that it just double, triple checks, like, hey, cool, the eyes still work, If that is the case, right? And everybody loves to talk about DMT. I have
We have a few people who like, well, one in particular that watches our channel regularly, and I actually don't think I've ever seen him talk about anything other than. I'm sorry, I take that.
Well,
back.
this is for you.
Heavily pushes DMT and saying that like DMT gets you to a supernatural experience or God. And here's the thing, like, I just don't get that. You are altering you're putting a chemical that you're taking something that alters the chemicals or neurons in your brain, that in a way affects your perception. So we know that that's happening. why would anyone say, oh, I had this experience when my brain was altered, therefore God? Like, it's too big of a logical leap for me.
Absolutely. And especially if that specific drug that you're taking is pretty much the drug that, makes us dream. If that drug is something that essentially would do the same thing that our dreams are doing, our brain's doing when it goes through that process, especially if it's related to just double, triple checking that all of these things are working. Well, yeah, dude, it'll just put you into freaking overdrive for a little bit of time. You'll be seeing everything. You'll be hearing everything. Crazy, man. But it would also mean that we would have that ability just in kind of an everyday casual setting. Like, I know Shannon Q has talked about, these little hallucinations, whether they're auditory or visual, that happen to us all the freaking time. Every single one of us sees something out of the corner of our eye every so often, and we're like, oh my God, it's a bear. Oh, no, it's not. Okay, cool.
Yes.
That happens for a lot of different reasons. And one of the reasons is because, of course, our senses aren't perfect, which is why we talk to other people about stuff. We go, hey, man, do you also see the bear? And then the guy goes, yes, there is a bear charging us. We need to get the hell out of here. That's very beneficial. Now, that person could also be hallucinating too.
Right.
But as we continue to understand more about the brain, we get further and further away from those types of things, and this is,
you say the God of the gaps shrinks because we're getting more information.
Absolutely. I mean, 100%. And sometimes we just have to think about the tried and true things, in a slightly different way. And so, well, let's just step into another fun topic, man. So we hit the drugs. Let's talk about solipsism real quick, because it annoys the crap out of me.
And can you explain the difference between, well, actually define solipsism, and then explain the difference between like hard solipsism and regular solipsism?
Yeah, it's not something that I'm extremely well versed in, but just the basic general concept is that we can't actually prove that other minds exist. We can't actually prove that we're not living in a matrix, or that it's all an imagination, of our own making and stuff. Gonna have to forgive me on doing the specifics between hard and soft, because I looked up solipsism for the where's Tangent when you need her?
I know.
But I looked this stuff up a while ago, and it wasn't something that I felt was anything more than just a quick, oh yeah, we should always take note of that and move on. Just the same thing with the the hard problem of consciousness and the laws of logic and stuff. It's like, hey, technically you got to use logic to prove logic. That's circular. It's not great. But if that's the only thing you're doing it for, if everybody else is doing that plus more, well, you're doing better. You should minimize those amount of things as possible. And solipsism for me, again, believe me, I know this isn't the perfect answer. If I did, this stream would go absolutely viral and I would make a lot of money. But my answer for solipsism is object permanence and comedy. If I close my eyes right now, you don't disappear. You have to exist in some form or fashion. Okay? If I turn around and I don't see this part of the room, that part of the room still exists. And it's a big milestone for a living thing to be able to recognize that. A lot of things come from that. Math comes from that. Because if you have one tiger and you also have one tiger, you now have two tigers, because they're real things, whether you look at them or not. Whether you're just imagining it all or not, this matrix seems to exist where there is two tigers right there. And then I throw the comedy thing in there. I just like being silly in general, but for comedy to work, it has to be a surprise. If you know the end of the joke, it's not funny, because you already know. Go ahead.
I would actually disagree with that.
Okay, go ahead.
There are times where I've known where the joke's going, or even told the same joke more than once and made the person laugh again. It
Sure,
really
but
depends on your delivery.
yes, but the understanding, and there's so many different branches to delve into when it comes to comedy. But there are like standardized jokes in comedy. Like, you know what the shaggy dog joke is?
Sorry, do I know what the shaggy
dog joke?
No.
It's a standard style of joke that basically the original joke was, it's about this kid walking around with a dog, and he tells everybody, you know, how shaggy his dog is. Like, somebody comes up and they go, man, you ought to cut that dog. And he goes, my dog's just too shaggy. And you say that like 12 times. And then the punchline of the joke is that somebody else comes up and says, well, that dog's not that shaggy. The point of the joke is really the fact that you've been listening to the joke for a long time. Like, do you know the knock, knock, who's there, banana? Knock, knock, who's there, banana? Knock, knock, who's... oh, my gosh, man. Oh, my gosh. These are... Oh, my God. I'm just going to send you a list of jokes. So the joke for that one is you say, knock, knock, who's there, banana? And they go, banana who? And you start over. You say, knock, knock, who's there? Banana, banana who? You do that like 5 times. And then the last time you say, orange. And they go, orange who? And you say, orange, you glad I didn't say banana.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The joke there is that you've been listening to this joke the whole time, and it's not really that good of a joke. That's the comedy from it. And that...
Do you have a good joke you could tell? Because I think some of my jokes are too offensive. Not all of them.
Yeah.
I do actually have a, I think, fairly comical new sex story that I'm going to be sharing tomorrow night on the pickup line with Vaughn.
Nice.
So I'm pretty... Oh, wait. I could share it now because this isn't going on YouTube. And no, people have to tune into the pickup line.
I'll tell a funny sex story.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah. So this was a while ago. I was in high school. I didn't take the label atheist at the time, but I was more pissy about people talking about God to me and stuff.
You had an angry atheist face too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
There was, like, for those who don't know, I had a very angry atheist face. Like, was not friendly at all. It was like, no, there's no God. I'm going to show these people. And anytime people would post stuff, I would be like that asshole that would just be like, hey, like, just all the time. And it was like, oh my God, shut up, Ethan. It was just because I was already not in a good mental headspace at that point in my life. So it was that plus the new realization that, atheism kind of unshackled my mind. It was like, I have to get everyone on board with this. But it did actually take my life improving among meeting certain people that got me to a more friendly approach. And one thing I've noticed, that when my anxiety is bad, some of that angry atheist comes out, because you're just, you get, it can be frustrating. Like, people are using said belief to restrict the rights of others. So it's not always easy to be like, yeah, we can agree to disagree. Sometimes it's like, no, we need to talk about this.
Yeah. When I'm hungry, those Snickers commercials really hit home for me. I get angry. But anyway, so I started dating this wonderful person, and we really hadn't, we had sex like maybe once, maybe twice. But we were dating for a few months and so forth. And one day, we were spending some time with each other. We were really feeling it, man. And we wanted to get gross. I mean, we wanted to just go as dirty as we could, and then of course, years will pass in my life and I'll be like, oh gosh, nothing. But so I was like, hey, like, you should ride me. Like, you should get on top of me. Like that, again, that's where that was just, you know, huge leap at the time. So she's on top of me for a little bit and we're going at it. We're having a fun time. And I get this thought in my head and I'm like, you know what? You know, it'll be super, super fucking hot. Like, I just flip her over and just go into doggy style, man. That would just, she would be into that. She's told me that. She's like, Elliot, I just want you to control me. I'm like, dude, let's do it. And so I feel like, okay, this is a good moment to do it. You know, I'm catching the rhythm and I go to push her over and I basically slammed her face into my bookshelf.
Oh,
yeah, it was bad. It was not great. It didn't. So it was she got a tiny little cut. It wasn't anything terrible. No hospital, no nothing.
okay, good.
But yeah, nothing like that. But I straight up smacked her face into the bookshelf, and she was like, "Oh, what the fuck?" I was like, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." I have never gone from hard to flaccid that quickly in my life. I was pretty.
I can imagine.
I was instantly embarrassed, instantly confused, instantly so apologetic. And I just, you know, I'm standing there completely naked. She's laying on the bed. She's got a face over him. And I'm like, oh my God, what can I do? What can I do? Can I go get a Bandaid? Do you want some ice cream? What's going to happen? Like, how can I make this better? Then, you know, just to end the story on a happy note, you know, we made up, we cuddled for a little bit and fucked real hard later. So
I'm glad she's okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I doubt it's something that was a hugely traumatic thing for her. So, but
I will say this on the topic of sex. It's nice to finally have like a yeah, never mind. No, I'm not going down that road.
No, say it.
I for me, it's really nice to have like a healthy sex relationship because I haven't had one in a very long time.
Yeah. It's one of the most amazing things in the world, I think. It
makes a difference in your confidence, that's for sure. Because like the first time after like, because I was with the same person for, 12 years. So the first time with someone else, oh my God, I was so nervous. I was like this like scared like 12-year-old all over again. Like, oh my God, are you like, I hope I can do this. And for men, or sorry, for some men, especially ones with like ADHD, when you're so like nervous and hyper focused on like, oh my God, I have to do this, I have to do this, it becomes more difficult to perform, if you catch my meaning.
Yeah.
Which is not very fun because you never, no man I think most people don't want to set a negative first example. It's like you want to make sure you leave your mark.
Yeah, exactly. And being able to be completely naked with somebody, as vulnerable as you possibly could be, and to be able to just have one of those like real deep belly laughs with them, while you guys are just so vulnerable like that, just being super real, super you. It's absolutely phenomenal. And for me especially, I've had a lot of people over the years that have told me that it's kind of like a switch with me, and it once it flips on, I'll be very lovey. I want to be close and touchy and real playful and sweet and all that. But when I'm not there, I'm just not there. And I don't. It's hard for me to make that leap with, especially a lot of new people. Anytime that I get to know somebody, I really prefer to get to know them. It's not my thing to just go out and have sex with as many people as I possibly can. Even though I am polyamorous, it's not this desire to what?
Sorry. That's the other thing I was to say. This is my first time in a kind of open relationship.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
it's a little nerve-wracking,
Right
but
on. It is.
boundaries are getting set. We're learning
Yeah.
each other. So
And you'll make mistakes. I mean, just go ahead and know that, like, you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to be perfect, and there's a lot of shit to learn.
right.
But there is a difference between, at least I think so, and I've heard some other people express it similarly. There is a difference between an open relationship and polyamory.
Could you actually explain that difference for me?
Yeah, I'll try. And please, anybody that's watching that knows more, please definitely feel free to express more. Because I personally have only taken the label polyamorous for the last couple of years. And it's really only because I didn't know that that was a term. So my whole life, I have always disagreed with people about relationships. We've always had, different views. Somebody would say, can you believe Bill is talking to Sarah? He's been dating Jill for, what? And I'd be like, that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand why you're upset, and the idea of people loving multiple people at the same time, feeling that you can truly be connected with a bunch of different people potentially, and have the same commitments, have the same care, have the same desire to see them happy is something that for me always made complete and total sense. I got called quite a lot of fun names like man whore for a couple of years there, which was so not true. Like, I would love to be more of a man whore than I am, like, but it is just not, that's just not where I'm at, man. But an open relationship is more just the idea that it's not necessarily a sense of who you are. It's not necessarily a part of this.
Wait.
You kind of dig where I'm... Go ahead.
No, so I can simplify this. An open relationship means you can have like other sexual partners. A poly relationship means you can have actually form relationships with other people.
Yeah,
Is that,
yeah, for sure. That's a really good understanding. Because polyamory for sure isn't all about sex. Definitely there is some of that in there, but it's not just about, hey, how many people can I fuck this Friday? You are committed. You do care about these people, and you want to be actively involved in their lives. At least for the vast majority of people that involve themselves in a poly relationship. But it doesn't have to be. Again, you can have an individual that's a part of a group that really just, hangs around every so often, joins in on the fun, and that's about it. The answer at the end of the day is always going to come back to consenting adults talking with each other about things reasonably and communicating and compromising. And that's such a huge part because, the whole point of a relationship in general is to say, like, look, here's kind of where I come from. Here's where you come from. What's the middle ground that we can, compromise on and find to be the best place for us to continue this. And you do often find that a lot more poly relationships and more open relationships are much more about communication, which is really just, it should just be the case, just period. Just all relationships all the time. And people don't understand that it's not just sexual. It's not just romantic. You and I have a relationship, man. I come and I help out and I hang out in the community. Me and a shit ton of people have all types of different relationships. And I always had a good understanding of where those lines were, at least for myself. I could say, like, hey, this guy and I are super close. This lady and I are super close. This lady and I like to fuck each other, and that's that. I was really good at saying, like, hey man, we're not super close, and so this is the point where I'm just gonna leave. Like, I don't want to go over to your house to play video games because that's not really where our relationship is. We meet at a bar once a week randomly. Like, we don't even communicate about meeting at this bar. We just both show up at this bar like once a week and we talk to each other. Like, no man, I'm not going with you anywhere.
So that that gives me a reminder. I was talking to someone about like, the like poly and open, and I had said, like in sex, from my perspective, I'm still trying to like, I don't want to say change my view, but like trying to better understand and be more open to certain things. So, because on one end, for me, you think like, okay, if my partner needs to have like sex with someone else or wants to have sex with someone else, it's like, wait, am I doing enough? Am I like, it can make you feel a little insecure. But my friend was like, well, sometimes there are certain other needs that your partner can't always fulfill. And that's why it's important to, like, if necessary, get those needs somewhere else. Like, for instance, he equated it to, he's like, well, he goes, you have a friend you play Mario Kart with, right? He's like, are you going to play Mario Kart with your partner? And I'm like, well, no, I'd play with them. He goes, it's no different than that. And I was like, I get where he went with that, but it's hard to view like sex, something that's really intimate, as nothing more than like Mario Kart.
Sure. And that's why, just another great plug for another great community. That's why Dr. Daryl Ray and everything that he does is just so vital for all of us, to get this stuff out there and normalize it as much as we can. But also, when I would explain it to some of my friends in the past, one of the ways that I would say is I'd be like, because a lot of times people, you'll go through this explanation and they'll say, oh man, it just sounds like you want to fuck a bunch of people. And it's like, well, I mean, first off, like, yeah, but don't you? Like, it's okay if you don't. But yeah, man, like, sex is great. I love sex. I'm a sexual person. And for everyone out there that is asexual, that's totally normal. It's totally natural, totally normal human thing. Whether you're attracted to men, women, trans people, queer, it doesn't matter. Like, this is something that's a part of us in one way, shape, or form. And it's about understanding what that is and normalizing that. And so, my friends would say to me, they say, well, man, okay, so you just want to go out and have sex with a bunch of people. And I say, well, okay, let's walk through this together. So, you know what it's like to be attracted to a pretty lady. And they're like, oh yeah, man. I'm like, hey, you remember Cassidy, man? Whoa, crazy hot, right? They're like, yeah, dude. I'm like, okay, so imagine this. Imagine you and Cassidy and another pretty lady. Super awesome, right? They're like, dude, that's freaking great. That's so cool. I'm like, okay, so imagine tomorrow and other lady isn't available. So you have sex with Cassidy. They go, awesome. Next day, well, Cassidy's not available. You have sex with the other lady. They're like, yeah, awesome. I'm like, super cool, man. Now, the day after that, you're not available. So Cassidy has sex with another man. Whoa.
Yep.
And that's such a really good way to walk through it, I think, is because
that is a really,
that's where you can understand, like, okay, that there is a dividing line for me. There is a point at which I'm not comfortable with something. And that goes back to kind of what you were saying about this feeling of insecurity and so forth. And part of the thing, and I didn't do shit for this, by the way, like, you guys all see what my face looked like. You guys have been listening to me speak for a while now. I really didn't do shit for it, but I've just always had pretty good self-esteem. I've just always really liked
it. Yeah.
Well, thank you. It comes from, a lot of fuck ups, but I've always just liked myself, and I've always been comfortable with telling people, like, hey, I don't want to do this, or I'm not interested in this, or this is what really interests me, and I'm just going to go do it, whether anybody wants to come do it or not. I've gone to concerts by myself, sporting games by myself. Like the United States women's soccer team came to my city like a year or so back, and oh my God, I freaking loved it. I bought a second ticket just in case anybody wanted to come, but nobody wanted to go watch women's soccer, and I was like, screw you guys, they're the best team in the world. I
played soccer for like a decade.
Oh, dude, I love soccer, and the U.S. men's soccer team is really just a travesty. And I just want to take a moment to say, get your shit together, men's soccer. Get your shit together and start paying the women what they deserve. It's absolutely absurd that they make less money. They literally have
Agreed.
four motherfucking World Cups. It's absolutely absurd, absolutely crazy. That's my soapbox.
We do have to wrap up in a moment because we are going a little bit over. But is there anything else you'd like the audience to know about you?
No, not really, man. I love participating in these communities. I've been lurking for years, and I just started, over the last year or so, really trying to get out there and talk to people. Um, I'm always happy to come on and share thoughts about stuff. They may not always make a lot of sense, but I love having a good time. I love being playful and silly. Say hi to me if you see me out there, guys, and also don't get too offended if I say something in chat somewhere. It's normally just a fucking joke anyway. So,
Awesome. Well, and where can anyone check you out at? Are you going to be doing anything else or nothing else planned at this moment?
I don't have anything currently. In the future. There is supposed to be a live event where I'll get some questions from Christians and other believers and a couple of other people on a panel. I don't know if that's going to be recorded or not. If it is, I'll try finding it and shouting out to anybody that gives a shit. But yeah, man, no, you'll find me at all great communities on YouTube, specifically like this one. So.
Awesome. Well, Secular Rarity, thanks for sitting down with me. For those that don't know, tomorrow, V. LaBianca and Eric Murphy are going to be on Ask an Atheist. We're doing a special episode, at 6 p.m. Central Time. Then later in the day, Notes from Autumn will be on Ask an Atheist. And then normally Ask an Atheist is just once a week, but I had to originally reschedule Secular Rarities, so I'm trying to fit, everything in.
I'll hold it against you forever.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and have a good day. Hey, Bandaid. Are you a good boy now? Yeah, you're a good boy? Say hi. Good boy.